Hi, Verbling. My name's Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and today we'll be having discussions about diet and vegetarianism and reading a little bit about what that means and how it's progressing. I'll put my name in the chat box for you guys. You can friend me on Facebook using this name, and there I update about classes and sometimes post helpful websites for you guys. I also take suggestions. So if there are any classes that you want to see, let me know there. Send me a suggestion or some topic you'd like to be covered, and I'll make a class and schedule it soon. If you're looking for a tutor, I have tutoring hours as well. If you look on my profile on Verbling, you'll be able to see all of my open hours. So for today, we're going to be reading an article in a little. I'll put that in the chat box for you guys if you want to open it up and load it. Ricardo, welcome to class. Hi, Ricardo, are you there?
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Excellent.
How about you?
I'm doing very well. Having a good day so far. It's sunny and beautiful weather out. How's your week going?
It's just okay.
Just okay. Why?
Nothing. I'm just doing just the usual things.
I see. I'm waiting for this weekend. I'm excited to see the match against Germany against Argentina.
Me too. Who are
Do you
you
have a
rooting
favorite?
for?
Oh, that's a good question. It's difficult because, of course, I was rooting for Brazil, but Brazil has an interesting relationship with Argentina. They're very competitive. So I find it difficult to root for Argentina, but Germany beat Brazil pretty badly, so it's difficult to root for them
Yeah.
also. Did you watch that game?
No, just in the news, but
Yeah, it was a pretty
it's
sad
really,
game.
yeah,
7 to
it's
1
really
is a
humiliating.
terrible score.
Yeah.
Who are you rooting for?
Well, probably Germany. I don't have a team or something. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have a personal team, but maybe Germany.
Germany. All right. I think Germany has a good chance at winning. I think if I were a betting woman, if I were going to bet, I would bet on Germany because they're an amazing team.
Okay.
All right. So today we're talking a little bit about different diets and discussing vegetarianism, what that means. So when you hear the word vegetarian, what comes to mind? What do you think of?
Oh well, um, I'm somehow confused because some say vegans and some say vegetarian. I'm really confused about these two words. I don't know.
Okay, let's clear that up then. What do you have a definition in your mind about what a vegetarian is?
For me, I think if you're a vegetarian, you can eat fish or you can eat uh, dairy, dairy
Mhm.
product. But if you're a vegan, most probably you cannot eat uh, it's more of a strict strict stricter than the vegetarian
Mhm.
um that's what um I think the that I
Okay. I
know.
think that's a good start to our definitions. So, vegetarian is usually no meat, but yes to dairy, yes to eggs, and sometimes yes to fish, depending on the person, of course. And then
Okay.
vegan is a little more strict. You're right. So that would be no dairy, no no fish, no eggs. I think even no honey because
Oh,
uh, honey is of course a product of an animal. So the way I'm familiar with veganism, I'm not an expert, but when I think of veganism, I think no animal products, in addition to no meat, of course.
yeah.
So it's pretty
But
difficult.
I also heard some words I'm not so familiar, but I heard it somewhere. It's called, I don't know if you know it. It's called Lesquitarian. Lesquitarian.
Pescatarian?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, a
But I think it,
pescatarian is just a branch of vegetarianism, really.
so they still eat fish.
Yeah, it's basically a vegetarian who still eats fish and seafood. So, oysters and crab and lobster, any of that would be okay for a pescatarian. And it's kind
Okay,
of just a subcategory. Some people will say that they're a vegetarian who eats fish, and other people will say pescatarian.
okay.
Different terms. There's a lot of variety out there. So, what do you think when you think of a vegetarian? What do you think of?
Well, for me, I'd like to try it, but I I think I love my meat. So maybe some other time if um, I'm I'm no longer if I'm what do you call this uh, if I'm willing to let go of my my longing for meat, then probably I'll try vegetarian. But
I
for now,
see.
I don't think so. How
So,
about you?
what's your well, I've been a vegetarian for a
Oh,
while,
so you're
but it's kind of an on and off thing because when I was very young, I became a vegetarian. I was 9, I think, and I was, radical and I thought it was very cool. So, I became a vegetarian young. And then when I got a little bit older, I started to travel. And travel is a difficult experience for a vegetarian because there's a lot of cultural differences. And
yeah,
so I changed a little bit because when I go to a new place, I really want to experience a culture and experience lots of things about that culture. So if you're picky and you say, "Oh, I don't want to eat that," and "No, I can't eat here," that kind of thing, it becomes difficult to experience a culture. So when I was traveling, I said, "Okay, I'll put the vegetarian on hold and I'll eat meat to help me get to know different cultures better because meat is usually the center of a lot of foods that are important for certain countries."
yeah,
So I started eating meat for a while, and then I went back to being a vegetarian, but I still eat fish. So now I'm a little more selective, but now I'm a little more open to because, like I said, I still like to experience parts of culture that usually involve meat.
yeah, yeah,
But it's difficult, but it's been good. I like my vegetarian diet in general. I'm a big fan of vegetables.
yeah. The problem with if I would like to try it, the problem is, and in our place we don't offer a lot of, you cannot go out and have a dinner in a vegetarian restaurant. So I think it's difficult, and also you need the discipline also.
Yeah.
I don't have the discipline when I'm at
It's
home, especially.
It's very restrictive for sure. I think at home it's actually easier for me because when I'm at my house, I do the grocery shopping, so I don't buy meat. And then when I want to make dinner, there's no meat available for me. So it's at home, I find it easy. And for me, the difficult part is when all my friends go to a restaurant that is only barbecue or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to go because I want to see my friends, but there's nothing for me there. There's nothing I can eat there. So it's like, it's a little awkward because everyone is like, "Oh, have some. You should eat something. Eat something." And I'm like, "No, thank you. Thank you. No." And it's a little awkward sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it can be awkward when someone is doing something really sweet, like someone will invite me to their house for dinner and
Yeah.
they make something that has meat in it. And then that's like, I don't want to say no because it's a very
It's
nice
difficult to refuse.
gesture. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So sometimes if there's confusion, like maybe they don't understand what a vegetarian is, sometimes I'll say, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian, so I'm going to bring a salad or something." And then they make me something special that has chicken in it or something like that. So sometimes I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I'll eat a little bit because I feel bad saying, "No, I'm not going to eat this. It's gross," or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. But it's complicated. And do you think that vegetarian is a good diet because of animal rights or the environment? What do you think? Why do you say that you would like to try to be a vegetarian one day?
Um, I think uh, since I'm getting old, um, you know, uh, health-wise, I think I'm having some problems with my health. So I think vegetarian is a good way to, have a balance, diet,
Hmm.
or because if you eat too much meat and uh, meat products, uh, it will really have some bad effects in your body, and I think for me it's kind of showing now because when I'm having my physical exams and my cholesterols are going up and everything. So I'm thinking a bit, and but it's really hard to start.
Hmm. Definitely. It is hard to start, and habits are difficult to give up. And I think for most meat eaters, those habits, your favorite meals all include meat and that kind of thing. And for me, honestly, it's really easy now because my habits are all pretty vegetarian because I've been a vegetarian for a while. So the beginning is the worst part of it. And I passed that years ago. So for me, it's kind of like, I don't think it's as hard for me as it is for people who are used to eating meat, like hamburgers and hot dogs and all that really delicious stuff. It's difficult to give up, but because I haven't had a hamburger in like 10 years, for me, I don't miss it anymore. When I first started, I really did, but now I don't. So I can see how it's really difficult, kind of like quitting smoking or something like that.
Yeah,
Do you think there are any arguments against vegetarianism, like any reasons that it's not good?
I think I don't heard any about arguments about this because it's good. It's something that is good, but the only problem that I think of is how to get your protein. And
Yeah.
it's really important to have protein in your diet.
Hmm.
And I think I need to know more about
It's
these things.
something that people bring up a lot when I say, like, oh, I'm a vegetarian. Everyone goes, oh, but you don't get enough protein. And that is definitely a concern because balanced nutrition is the goal, and even vegetarians have to keep in mind that there's certain things in meat that are important to have. Do you know any
Yeah.
protein sources that are not meat based, like not chicken, fish, or pork or beef? Do you know any other protein sources?
I think uh milkshake. I don't- the
Yeah,
one who the the one who used by these bodybuilders. But
yeah.
it's expensive, buying a protein milkshake or something.
Hmm.
Protein, just in a big bottle. When I see it in some of the shopping malls, but it's so expensive to have that. But what if you're not a bodybuilder? I know, and
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
I'm not a big fan of those protein shakes. I think that for some people they work really well, but you're right, they're expensive and they're not really tasty. I don't think they taste good. So I don't really buy those. But
Yeah,
milk is a
and
great
also
source of
the
protein.
problem is the problem is I have a lactose intolerance, so I don't
Ah,
really drink milk.
that is
That's
difficult
the
then.
big problem.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to be a
Do you
vegetarian
have
if you don't have those
any
sources.
any source of protein that vegetarians use?
Hmm? Me?
Yeah, what kind of product do you use when it comes to when you get your products or protein products?
I don't actually have products, but I do get a lot of protein in my diet. Of course, I have milk and cheese. I like those. But other than that, eggs have a lot of protein in them. And beans and lentils are full of protein as well. And nuts. Walnuts and Brazil nuts and peanuts are pretty chock full of protein as well. Plus,
Yeah,
sometimes you can get protein from unexpected places, like spinach actually has a pretty good amount of protein in it, which most people are like, really? Spinach? But spinach has some good protein. So, like Popeye, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So, my main protein sources are milk, eggs, cheese, beans, nuts, lentils, and spinach. Sometimes I think I
Uh,
get too much protein.
I'd like to ask you something about eggs, but sometimes eggs are, high in cholesterol. I don't know. How much, how many eggs do you consume, or and if you're going to eat it in a day?
I would say probably, I mean, it depends exactly what
Do
I'm
you eat it
having,
every
but
day?
I don't have eggs specifically every day. I would say I have beans really frequently, and days when I don't have beans, I might have an egg. But usually I have one or two eggs. That's pretty much the maximum, unless I'm having something really special, like maybe some kind of pie, a pie that has eggs in it or something. Then I might have more. But in general, I would have one or two. And I think the worst, I mean, fried eggs are definitely high in like a lot of fat because they're fried in oil. But there are
Yeah,
other ways, like boiling eggs. I find boiling eggs is really easy because it's something you can keep around. So you don't even have to really waste time cooking it. You can boil them and then keep them in the fridge for a snack later. So for me, that's an easy way to get my protein. I'm lazy.
I think we have someone from the chat box. He's asking something.
What means lentils? So, okay, first of all, what does lentils mean? slight reorganization of that question would make it a better question. We usually use the auxiliary verb does, but lentils are a kind of, let's see, it's a kind of food, and I'm gonna find a picture for it because it will be really hard to describe. But it's something that's very common in Eastern cuisine. I'm gonna screen share the pictures that I found because so they look kind of like beans, but they're much smaller and flatter. And
Oh,
in
okay.
Portuguese, they're lentilhas. Lentilhas. So I don't know if that helps, but these are pictures. They're very much like beans, but small and kind of flat. Have you seen these before, Ricardo?
Um, we don't have that much here in our country.
Really?
Um, because I think I don't know, it's not that popular in Asia. I don't know, but um, we have this uh, particular lentil. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called monk beans.
Oh, I
Are
know
you?
what those are. I've had those before. Delicious.
Yeah, just the I don't know if it's a lentil. I don't know if it's with uh uh included in lentil family. I don't know, but
Let's find out.
I'm only familiar uh
Here's a good
with
picture
that.
of it. I've had them before in sweet things, like desserts. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you
Or do
can
you
do it.
also
You
eat them
can
salty?
yeah, you can also cook them in some ways. You can cook it in a dessert or also in a meal. In a meal, you can
And
just boil it and put um, some meat and um, with with a put some salt and garlic and onion. That's it. But
yum. Sounds good.
it's hard to cook because this is a very hard shell or hard hard part. It's very hard, and you have to cook it at least an hour because you have to boil it for at least 30 minutes or an hour.
Wow.
Yeah,
It
because
looks like it's really healthy though.
yeah, I think it's also that uh, it's healthy, really.
It says it's almost 50% of your daily need for protein is taken care of if
Wow,
you have 100 grams of mung bean.
that that's the only familiar lentil. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a lentil or something.
I think it's
But
probably close to a lentil. I'm not sure if it's exactly a lentil, but it looks
uh,
close enough to me. It's full of protein, full of fiber, full of a lot of vitamins and minerals. So definitely looks like a healthy replacement for meat or addition to
yeah,
meat, depending on your diet.
I think you can find it in an Asian store or something.
In the US, I found it a few times. In Brazil, I don't think it's as common, but or at least not where I live in Brazil, maybe in other places. But in the US, there was a I have an Asian cultural center that's near me that I've been to before, and they have an excellent grocery store that I love using for different exotic, delicious products. And mung bean is one of them. So, but I've only ever had it for sweet things like mung bean paste on sweets and candies and that kind of thing. And I'd be interested to try it for dinner.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay, so we have an article today that we're going to read, or at least we're going to start it. We'll see how far we get through it. And it's a little information about general meat habits, and something that's gaining popularity in the US.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll screen share it and you can open it if you like as well. It's called Meatless Mondays.
Yeah, I already have it in my.
Awesome. So, Meatless Monday movement gets more veggies on the menu. Will you read the first paragraph for us?
America's relationship with meat is an indulgent one. At 270 pounds of meat per person per year, Americans consume more than almost anyone else in the world. Mostly, we have our livestock producers' successes to thank for making meat cheap and abundant for us. What?
Thank you very much.
But
Oh,
okay,
do you have any questions about vocabulary from that first paragraph?
I think no, no.
All right. What about abundant? The word abundant, close to the end of that paragraph.
It's plenty,
Mm-hmm.
plenty,
In good supply.
plentiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, we have the word indulgent. Can you give us a definition for the word indulgent?
Something that something that you like to do or to uh, you something that you like very much,
Mm-hmm.
like um, doing it with pleasure.
Yeah, something that gives you pleasure. Something like you give yourself a little luxury or a little pleasure when you indulge in something. Totally.
Yeah.
Great definition. So we'll switch off paragraphs here since it's just us two, and I'll read the next one. But as we've often reported on this blog, the conversation about our meat consumption is increasingly turning critical. From Bill Gates to health researchers to the United Nations, the meat that dominates our plates is being called excessive and detrimental to health, the environment, the animals we raise for food, and rural economies. All right. Will you get the next one for us?
Chiming into this critique since 2003 is the Meatless Monday campaign, a partnership between an advertising whiz and the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health to market dietary change. The campaign, which celebrates its 10th year anniversary this month, encourages cutting out meat one day a week to improve health and the environment.
Thank you very much. And looks like Aka, welcome back.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good. Good to have you back with us.
Yes,
So,
hey.
we're talking
Mhm.
about vegetarianism, and before we continue talking about the article, will you tell us what comes to mind when you think of vegetarians?
Vegetarians kind of only vegans only eat vegetable, and some other vegetarians eat some soy milk or dairies. And in my impression, nowadays vegetarians more in America than in Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
so the US is actually pretty famous for having like in the article, an indulgent meat diet. So usually it's a pretty meat heavy diet. Like most of the Western Hemisphere, I think. I think it's pretty common in the Western Hemisphere to have a meat heavy diet. But the number of vegetarians is growing for sure.
Yeah. I think
Definitely.
now maybe vegetarians are more in America than in Japan.
So, do you think in general Japanese people eat
Mhm.
more meat than Americans, or would you
Uh,
say that it's somewhere equal?
I think we are eating less meat in Japan than in America in general, but number of vegetarian many kind of more in Japan than in the United States. And no, in America than in the United States.
Mm-hmm. All right.
This maybe long time Japanese people couldn't access to eating meat, so now we are indulging in eating meat. But
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Mm.
And Ricardo, what do you think? How would you compare your culture to American culture as far as eating meat goes?
I think it's probably the same. We love to eat meat, and um, our culture are very similar to American culture. We love hamburgers. We love everything. We love
Yeah.
everything about America. Sorry.
All right. So we just read the first few paragraphs, and in I think the second paragraph, it says that the meat that dominates our plates is being called excessive, detrimental to health, the environment, and animals we raise for food and rural economies. Do you guys think that that's a true and fair statement, or do you think it's exaggerated? Aka, why don't you go first? Do you think that's a fair statement, or is it a negative, defamatory statement?
Okay, the meat dominator plate is being called excessively and determine mental health. The environment, the animals were raised for food and for economies. Mm. Oh, that means this sentence means, sorry, uh, what damage is uh, causing what damage is according to this sentence.
So this sentence saying that the meat is the ruler of the diet, basically, because in
Uh-huh.
most
Mm.
American culture, it's not even considered a real meal unless you have meat. You know, bacon for breakfast and maybe a hamburger for lunch, and for
Mm.
dinner,
Mm.
pork chops. It's like
Mm.
meat, meat, meat all the time. So
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
dominating our plate.
I think so. I was sorry, I was fed up with eating meat in America. Every 3 meals, eat meat, and yeah, I
Hmm.
think that is happening in American cuisine. I think that's why many number of vegetarians, larger than in Japan, in America.
That's
Such
probably
kind of
true.
yeah reaction. Yeah.
We have a long way to go to give up meat, right? So it's so important. Whereas in Japan, I think fish is more a priority than beef and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, in the past, fish completely fish dominated, but now, past 60 years, uh, government encouraged to eat meat to the people, to more nutritious food. But after that, we consume a lot of meat. Yeah, so it
Mm.
causing a problem too here as well.
All right. And Ricardo, what do you think about the statement that meat dominates our plates and is excessive, detrimental to health and environment, animals, economies? Do you think that that's a true, fair statement, or do you think it's an exaggerated claim?
I think um, uh, I think it's true because it's really the reflection of what um, the American diet is based. So I think there's no exaggeration in this report or anything this about this research. I think it's just telling the truth.
All right. So let's continue reading. We've read the first three paragraphs. We're coming up on two shorter paragraphs. Aka, will you read the paragraph that starts Why Monday?
Mhm. Okay. Why Monday? because several studies have demonstrated that people are more likely to try to quit smoking, begin a diet or exercise regimen, and schedule doctor's appointments up or adopt other healthy behaviors on Monday than any other day.
And you can read the next short one as well, since they're two
Okay.
tiny paragraphs.
And while many Americans may never have heard of the Meatless Monday or reject the idea of avoiding meat one day a week, the campaign points of many feathers in its cap.
Thank you very much. Ricardo, will you read the next paragraph for us?
Meatless Monday is now active in 29 countries, and in the US, more than 100 schools, food service companies, and restaurants, including Mario Batali's famed eateries, have signed on to offer meatless Monday options. According to the campaign, for many, this hasn't meant eliminating meat entirely from the Monday menu, and that's just fine with the campaign.
All right. Do you guys have any vocabulary questions from these three paragraphs?
Regimen. What is regimen?
Ricardo, do you know what regiment is? A regimen?
Um, Something that you do, like you do every day.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It's something like you do every day, or when you're doing something.
Yeah, it's like a
I'm
maybe a
just,
schedule or a
Mhm.
routine.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Good definition for that. Any other vocabulary questions? All right. So, before Ricardo, you mentioned that you have thought about being a vegetarian before, but that it's just really hard to break the habits and you have to give up all your favorite foods and you have to learn how to cook new things and it's really a difficult process to become a vegetarian. Would giving up meat on Mondays be something that you consider? It could be like a partial vegetarianism.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like the idea actually, and I'm thinking about it, and I think I'd like to try it. You know.
Mhm. All right. And Aka,
Mhm.
what's your diet like? Does it include a lot of meat?
I try to intake a balanced diet, meat, fish, vegetables, fruits, and I like vegetable and fruit. And actually, I don't need I like meat, but I don't need meat eat meat a lot actually. So today I ate fish and meat and vegetables before the class.
Excellent. Sounds
Yeah.
pretty healthy. Do you do your own cooking?
Partially, I bought some prepared food in the supermarket. I ate, usually I ate some vegetables because prepared food program is, it's not, it doesn't have so many vegetables, so much vegetable. So,
Mm. All right. And Ricardo, what about you? Do you do your own cooking or do you share those duties with someone else?
Well, I usually I am the cook in the house because I'm not doing anything at the moment. So I am the designated cook, and usually I go for the easy ones to cook. So I always go for meat because I can always just fry it, you know. So most of my diet right now is uh, composed of cooking it in frying it because it's easy to do. But if I will add some vegetables in my cooking, it will take a lot of time and
Mm-hmm.
need a lot of ingredients. But if you just buy just a kilo of meat chops and you just pork chop, then you can just cook it right away. I don't
Yeah,
know.
chopping those
It's just
veggies
my
can be
thinking.
tedious. No, I totally agree. I think chopping vegetables can be really tedious, and even though I love I mean, I already know how to cook a lot of vegetarian dishes, so it's something that I make for myself a lot, but it takes a long time and your hand hurts. Sometimes I chop so many vegetables that I'll get a blister on my finger from chopping and chopping and chopping. So it can be really difficult, and I totally see your point there. And like Aka said or mentioned, uh, he gets some help from pre-prepared things or maybe eating out. I think that's a good idea, good substitution, kind of dividing the work. All
Yes,
right.
so there's no so many vegetarian menu in
Hmm.
Japanese restaurants. That's the one problem being vegetarian here. But I heard in Taiwan, restaurant offers a lot of vegetarian menu, and maybe in America too.
Yeah, it depends. Definitely. Each country is a little different. And
Mm,
the US used to not be so good about offering vegetarian things, but these days it seems like most places have good vegetarian options. You know, as long as you're not
mm.
eating at McDonald's, they'll usually
Wow,
have something that you can eat or, a
this is the point I
salad or
was thinking.
something.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay. Mhm,
fast food is really the only place where it's still hard to come by a vegetarian meal because
mhm,
pretty much the only thing at McDonald's that's vegetarian is their French fries, and even those aren't really vegetarian because they're cooked in animal fat. So,
I see.
so it's still not exactly vegetarian, but most of the time you can.
Mhm.
All right, let's go down to the next couple paragraphs. And Aka, will you read the paragraph that starts overall?
Overall, whether it's meatless or a flexitarian, we are promoting more plant-based option and less meat and fat, says Peggy New, president of the Monday campaign, which includes Meatless Monday.
Thank you very much. And Ricardo? Ricardo?
Wait. As NPR reported in 2010, the Monday campaign succeeded Leonard, 82, who decided to use his advertising savvy for public health when he learned about the risks and environmental concerns about high meat consumption in the US. Leonard was one of the original madmen of Madison Avenue, just known for his Squeeze the Charming toilet paper campaign. For more of Leonard's career, watch this video produced by his alma mater, Syracuse University.
Thank you very much. Any vocabulary questions in those two paragraphs?
Flexitarian,
Yeah, interesting one. Can you guess what a flexitarian might be?
maybe sometimes they eat meat. Basically, they're
Yeah.
vegetarian, but
Yeah, it is kind of like that. So maybe someone who eats meat sometimes or has, a diet that has rules. Like, for instance, no meat on Mondays, but meat every other day of the week. Or something like only meat for dinner, no meat for lunch. Something, some kind of special diet that is not exactly vegetarian.
mhm.
Any other vocabulary questions?
What is squeeze a charming mean? The almost last of the paragraph. Squeeze the charming toilet paper
Oh,
campaign.
it's a kind of toilet paper, and it's supposed to be much softer and better than other toilet papers. So it's a campaign, like an ad campaign, some kind of propaganda for the Charmin brand toilet paper, where they test it by squeezing it and saying how much softer and more wonderful it is than every other
Mm,
kind of
I,
toilet paper.
uh-huh, I see. Okay.
All right. Then let's go down. Any other questions before we move on? All right. If you guys do think of questions, you can let me know after or put them in the chat box. Actually, I should check the chat box. No, we're good. Okay. Akka, will you read the paragraph that starts at a symposium?
Yeah. At the symposium to celebrate Lana and Meatless Monday's 10-year anniversary at Johns Hopkins on Thursday. New, who also comes from the advertising industry, said everyone on the team has been astonished by the success of the Meatless Monday idea and how much it has spread on its own.
Thank you. And Ricardo, will you get the next one?
It's rare that you get a big idea like this one that gets as much grassroots traction as this one has, said Neo. Even John Hopkins Dean Emeritus Alfred Sommer remarks on the unique effectiveness of Meatless Monday idea. There are not many behavior change health issues that transcend like this one.
Thank you very much. Questions from those two paragraphs before we go on?
Emeritus.
That's a Latin term, and I think it just has it's like some kind of honor or award he won
Uh-huh.
probably, but it's a Latin term.
Okay.
What is Dean Emeritus? Google will tell us. It's a Latin term that's post-positive adjective used to designate a retired professor. So
Uh-huh.
he is a retired professor or maybe a retired dean. Dean would be
Mm,
like the head of a school, so he's a retired school
mm,
official.
mm.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Then let's read two more paragraphs, starting with Akka here at NPR.
Here at NPR, our caterer, Guggenheimer, voluntarily embraced Meatless Monday and offers a vegetarian entry every day. According to Guggenheimer chief marketing officer, Carla Lacey, between 15 and 20 of the company's accounts get Meatless Monday options.
Thanks. And Ricardo?
In some in some ways, Meatless Mondays were a great way to train people to notice and try non-meat options, Lacey tells the Salt in an email. Once they get more familiar with them, we start integrating the non-meat options into the menu every day.
Awesome. So I think we'll stop there in the article. It's a great article, and the rest is interesting too, but you guys can read that on your own and message me any questions. Do you guys have any last questions about the vocabulary or anything else we read so far?
Yeah, the company's account something. The company's accounts get Meatless Monday option. What is account in this on this context?
Where?
Uh, Paragraph start with here, in the end of this paragraph. 20 of 15th and 20th of the company's accounts get meatless
Ah,
Monday
okay.
option.
So that particular company is a chief marketing officer, and all of their accounts, they have meatless Monday meals. So on Monday, all of those companies who are clients of this marketing place,
Mm-hmm.
all of the here when they say accounts, they mean clients of that company.
Ah, I see. Mm-hmm.
So, for
Okay.
instance, if you work at a bank
Mm-hmm.
and all of McDonald's money
Mm-hmm.
is put in this one bank, that would be your account, like that particular branch
Mm-hmm.
of clientele.
Mm-hmm. I see.
All right. So, it was a good article, but we will spend our last few minutes having a little more conversation because I thought that was pretty fun. Aka, I didn't get a chance to ask you this, but
Mm-hmm.
is there any argument against
Mm-hmm.
vegetarianism? Any reason that you think that it's not ideal or even dangerous?
Yeah, I heard some doctor cautioned the how can I say uh, the vegetarian food don't intake so many protein might kind of cause cancer. High might face a high risk of cancer. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely too much intaking meat harmful for our body and environment too. And we kill actually vegetarian we kill plants as well as meat. But anyway, yeah, maybe for some people turn to vegetarian in that reason, do not kill animal or something like that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But for the health of our body, intaking meat a lot harmful. But extreme ways, vegetarian like vegans can be harmful to our bodies as well,
Mm-hmm.
in accordance with some doctors' opinion.
Yeah, extremism is definitely a harmful thing.
Hmm.
And Ricardo, why do you think we call some animals pets and other animals dinner?
Um, I don't know if I get the question right. But what do you mean by pets?
So a pet would be a kind of animal that you keep for
Yeah.
personal attention, like a dog or a cat. But
Yeah.
the question is asking, why are dogs and cats considered to be really personal animals? Like, of course, you probably wouldn't consider eating a dog or a cat, right? Is that true?
Actually, uh, and um, in our place, we have some, some we have this in our culture that sometimes some people eat, cats or dogs, and,
Well,
and
basically,
some
I
find it.
mean, the question is pointing to that a lot of people are sort of
Yeah.
selective. They kind of think like, oh, I would never eat a dog, but of course I would eat a cow. And it's a little bit kind of doesn't make much sense because, like, why would you not eat a dog and why would you eat a cow? So there are some cultures that don't have that bias and they kind of think, sure, why not? Eat a dog. It's fine. So have you ever
Yeah.
had uh, exotic meats like dog before? Have you tried
Um,
it before?
I don't know. See, before, maybe when I was very young, when somebody's friend house, when we're having drinking, and drinking with some friends, and they will just tell you, this one is this nice. This we have this new. I cooked this for all of you, and you need to try it. And they will not tell us what's in it, but after we all consume the food, they will just tell, this is a dog meat, and I think that's just only one time, but
Mhm.
um, you don't it's because it's not allowed to to sell that, but many are doing it underground, so that's why
So
it's
why
some
is it
kind
not
of
allowed to sell?
we don't allow it. It's um, it's prohibited to to sell like uh, dog meat or cat meat, but some we have
Why is it
some.
prohibited?
I don't know because we have this very active this kind of animal rights here.
Uh,
So and we have this laws that they passed so many years ago that so but still a lot of because they're already part of their culture.
mhm.
Some people are doing it underground, and you will just watch it on the television, and they they just confiscated this meat, and then they're transporting it to a place that people are eating it, because when they say that when you eat dog meat, it will because this place is cold, they will just um, it will warm your body if you eat that. That's why
Oh,
they like to eat
interesting.
that.
Interesting
Uh,
theory.
yeah.
And Akka, do you make the
Mhm.
distinction between
Mhm.
dinner animals and pets?
Maybe our culture code, cultural bias decided.
So, what animals do you consider a pet and what animal do you consider dinner?
Pretty much like I think westernized, nowadays, the cat, dog for pets, and cow, uh, pig, and chicken for meat.
All right, so pretty typical.
And yeah, currently controversial thing, the whale, Japanese used
Whale.
to, yeah, eat
Interesting.
whale, and but the Western world criticize a lot, and whale is actually is extincting this world, so it should be protected. I agree
Mhm.
with that, but I've eaten the whale meat, and some people think, Western people kind of forced to Japanese people to their idea, that's kind of where is the pet and where is the meat or something like that. Yeah, yeah, it's culturally biased. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
But
cultural.
and that's happening all over the world because in the past, the reason why Japanese didn't eat, especially cow considered a holy animal here. So
Mhm.
people didn't eat meat, especially cow. That's why, and it's a close island nation, so that's why people ate a lot of fish instead of meat traditionally here.
Yeah, really
Mm.
interesting to look at those differences and appreciate how one culture would think something is absolutely disgusting and another would be like, no, it's great. Why not? All
Mm.
right. Thank you guys so much for coming today and sharing all of your opinions. I really found out some interesting stuff I had never known before. I have more classes coming up on Saturday, so I hope to see you guys again soon.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.